We woke up today and the heart and soul of South Carolina was broken.
An emotional day in the Lowcountry. 9 people are dead after a gunman opens fire during Bible study in an historic Charleston church.
Why did you do it?
Shooting suspect Dylan Roof is now in police custody as we continue to learn more about this terrible tragedy. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Carolyn Murray in the News 2 studio.
Sorry, you're my point of...
And I'm News 2's Brendan Clark here, downtown Charleston. Behind me, the AME church. 9 people horrifically killed last night just after 9 o'clock. We have anger, we have sadness, and we have heartache. All those emotions tonight. A church shooting that has left 9 people dead. It happened at Emanuel AME Church in downtown Charleston on Calhoun Street last night around 9 o'clock. Several new developments in the last 19 hours that we want to tell you about, including the suspect caught in North Carolina and being brought right back here to the Lowcountry. 21-year-old Dylan Storm Roth was arrested in connection with the shooting. Charleston's police chief says a citizen's tip led to that arrest. Word coming down just after 11 o'clock this morning, local police arrested Roth in his car in Shelby, North Carolina. Shelby is 245 miles away from Charleston. It is above Charlotte, North Carolina, about a 4-hour drive from Charleston. Late this afternoon, Coroner Ray Wooten held a news conference where she identified victims of this horrific shooting. 9 people, as we now know, gunned down, including State Senator Reverend Clemente Pinckney. Now, officials have called it a hate crime. Mayor Joe Riley called it pure, concentrated evil. We have team coverage of this story, the victims, the suspect, everyone affected by this tragedy. We want to begin now with News 2's Travis Rice, who has been covering the story since it broke last night. It happened just after 9 o'clock. A lot of people still struggling to get their arms around this and exactly what happened. We heard Governor Haley get very emotional at her news conference.
That's right, Governor Haley at a midday press conference at around 11:30. They announced the capture of the suspect, Dylan Roth, as you mentioned. And it's one thing I've been following the story pretty much since the morning. And what's interesting to see the evolution of the press conference is 6 a.m. police coming out saying this is the suspect, 7 a.m. police giving the details, and finally at 11 a.m. police announcing that they got their man.
Got him.
21-year-old Dylan Roth in custody in connection for the Charleston church shooting.
I cannot say how thankful I am and how appreciative I am of all the people who came together during a very tragic situation.
The Lexington native arrested in Shelby, North Carolina, 250 miles from where police say he shot and killed 9 people at Emanuel AME Church.
We woke up today and the heart and soul of South Carolina was broken.
The holy city mending.
And so we have some grieving too.
Mayor Riley not treading lightly when describing the suspect, who police say sat in the prayer meeting for an hour before opening fire on worshipers.
Terrible human being.
And grateful the gunman in custody,
where he will always remain.
Meanwhile, Charleston begins the healing process for the victims.
We're going to make sure that these 9 families receive the love and support of the citizens of this community.
And the first step for that healing process, the city of Charleston starting a Hope Fund, donating $5,000 for the victims and their funerals that will soon be taking place here in the local.
This hitting so many people hard. You know, 1 o'clock this morning when Greg Mullen and Mayor Joe Riley, they were very emotional at the news conference. And to see Governor Haley like that today surprised a lot of people, but really hits home to how important, how big a deal this is.
I think it was the detail that someone committed such an unholy act in the church, that the fact that this guy sat in the church with them from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and then something triggered in him and he went off on these people.
Just sat with them for an hour, talked with them, chatted with them, conversed with them, talked religion with them, and then opened fire. Heinous crime.
Exactly. Introducing himself, sharing stories or names. A lot more things are going to come from this.
All right, News 2's Travis Rice, thank you very much for that report. This, of course, is a community that is shattered. The murder of 9 people. Reaction and support really pouring in from across the nation, from across the globe. President Obama today expressing his anger. We want to continue our coverage, team coverage, with News 2's Matt Elba. Reaction of this horrific crime. He was at a news conference just hours ago where Coroner Ray Wooten identified all the victims, all 9, in this crime. Matt?
Hey, good evening, Brendan. Well, again tonight, first we saw it with Governor Nikki Haley earlier in the day. A little while ago here at Charleston County Coroner's Office, Ray Wooten got emotional as she talked about this vicious, heinous, horrific crime that happened in downtown Charleston last night. A little while ago, she held a press conference. She gave me this list of the victims' names and their ages. This is what we know about the people who died. 54-year-old Cynthia Hurd was the branch manager at St. Andrews Regional Library for 31 years. Charleston County Councilman Elliott Summey said the library will now be named after her. Susie Jackson was the oldest victim shot and killed in the church. She was 87 years old. The next victim, Reverend DePayne Middleton Doctor, she was 49 years old and retired from Charleston County in 2005, where she was Director of Community Development for the Block Grant Program. Now, the pastor of the Mother Emanuel AME Church, where all of this happened, the Honorable Reverend Clementa Pinckney, he was 41 years old and a South Carolina state senator. The next victim, Tywanza Sanders, was 26 years old. Reverend Sharonda Singleton was 45 years old, and we know she was the mother of a CSU athlete and also the track coach at Goose Creek High School. The 3 final victims were Ethel Lance, who was 70 years old, Reverend Daniel Simmons Sr., who was 74 years old, and Myra Thompson, who was 59 years old. Simmons Sr. was the man who was transported to MUSC and later died. The Charleston County Coroner Ray Wooten became emotional after reading the victims' names.
We're human too, and we're touched by the terror of such an event. And immediately my heart started to sink because I knew that this was going to mean a forever impact on many, many people. As I approached this, it was somewhat disbelief that we could ever face something that horrific.
Now, the coroner said that all of these victims were shot and died as a result of their gunshot wounds. She also said it's fair to say that several of the victims had multiple gunshot wounds. She said right now a few of them are undergoing autopsies. She expects the autopsies to last a few days. I'm going to have a full wrap on all of the day's events coming up on the News 2 tonight at 11. Right now we're live in North Charleston. I'm Matt Alba, News 2.
Okay, thank you very much, Matt, for that report. We also want to tell you that the suspect, the alleged killer, the trigger man in this crime, caught in Shelby, North Carolina. He is being prepared to be brought back to Charleston. Caught in Shelby, North Carolina. We had live aerials of him, a plane being ready to bring him back to Charleston. When he gets here, we'll be sure to let you know. But that is the latest there, as he is caught in Shelby and will be brought back from there via plane from Shelby, North Carolina. There you see the live aerials from one of our affiliates of the airport, Shelby Municipal Airport. That is where he will be put onto a plane, and that is where he will be flown back to the Low Country here in Charleston, South Carolina. Carolyn, the national media attention is intense to today's show. Savannah Guthrie, a couple of feet away from me on my right, the Reverend Al Sharpton, Geraldo Rivera, about a couple of feet to my left. They are all here talking about this heinous crime and how it happened and why it happened. We'll have much more later in the show. For now, though, I want to toss it back to you in the studio, Carolyn.
Brendan, thank you. And as we've already reported, the pastor of Emanuel AME Church, Reverend and Senator Clementa Pinckney, among those killed. He was certainly well known and respected as a pastor and community member. Reverend Pinckney from Ridgeland, South Carolina, educated in the public schools of Jasper County. He graduated with honors from Allen University with a degree in business administration. He answered the call to preach at the age of 13. Reverend Leonard Griffin, pastor of Moore Street Baptist Church, was one of his close friends.
Hearts are hurting. Many folks are disillusioned, but we know that God is still able and that we trust his word to be true, where he said things will work out for our good eventually.
Reverend Pinckney was 41 years old, and he's survived by his wife Jennifer and their 2 children, Ileana and Milana. Senator Tim Scott worked with Senator Pinckney, a man he says worked tirelessly to make Charleston a better place. If you would like to help the families of the victims, donations can be made and sent to Mother Emanuel Hope Fund at any Wells Fargo bank. We want you to stay with us as we continue our continuous coverage. Stay with us. You are watching News 2 at 6 o'clock. You are looking live right now at the transfer of the suspect in the church shooting, Dylan Ralph, being brought back to South Carolina from Shelby, North Carolina. You are looking at the transfer happening right now live. He is being brought back to South Carolina from North Carolina. As you may have heard, he was apprehended earlier today in a vehicle. At the time, we are told that he had a weapon with him, did not resist arrest. Again, this is the transfer of suspect Dylan Ralph from Shelby, North Carolina to South Carolina authorities. He will arrive in the Charleston area at around 6:30 tonight. We understand that he waived extradition and now is being transferred to South Carolina authorities. We, of course, want you to stay right here with us as we continue to cover this breaking news story, and we'll continue to bring you more information as it comes in. Again, you are watching this live transfer of Dylan Ralph from North Carolina authorities. He was arrested from the Shelby, North Carolina area and is being brought back to South Carolina right now. He is boarding the plane right now. We anticipate that he will be in court tomorrow. And of course, we will continue to follow the very latest information. Again, this is the transfer of Dylan Ralph, the suspect who was arrested in the church shooting. He was arrested around 10 o'clock this morning in Shelby, North Carolina, waived extradition, and now you see that he was processed. He was in court earlier today in North Carolina, processed, and now this is the transfer to local authorities. We expect the plane from North Carolina to land in the Charleston area around possibly as late as 8 o'clock tonight. Of course, we want you to continue watching our coverage. Meanwhile, we are going straight to News 2's Evan West for the latest. Evan?
Well, Carolyn, Sharonda Singleton may have had 3 children of her own, but her presence at Goose Creek High School would make you think that she had many more. The speech therapist and track coach was beloved by her students, just like she was adored by her congregation at Emanuel AME. Sharonda played many roles, but she excelled at all of them and lived a life full of passion.
She was a true Gator. She had to be bursting with energy. She was here every day.
Her spirit was as strong as the high school's mascot she represented. Sharonda Coleman gave so much to so many people, but today, Goose Creek principal Jimmy Husky remembered her generosity.
When somebody would come and talk to her, she was always willing to listen to them. She would smile, that big smile of hers, that she would be willing to help each and every child.
As much as the teacher and coach gave to her students, the single mother's attention centered around her faith in God and her children. She is survived by her 3 kids. The oldest, Chris, plays baseball at Charleston Southern. When news of the shooting came out Wednesday evening, her son sent a tweet asking for prayers. The response was 1,500 retweets. Her daughter also tweeted, first asking for prayers, and then sending this tweet earlier today that read, "Seeing the sun and realizing it wasn't just a bad dream."
You can just tell them to keep doing the right things and doing what she preached, is to get an education. Get an education so you have the opportunity to move forward, treat people with respect, understand each other, and love each other.
I asked one of Sharonda's friends what he will remember most about her. He said simply, she lived life the right way. Carolyn?
All right, Evan, thank you. A vigil is being held for Sharonda Singleton. That's happening at Goose Creek High School beginning at 7 o'clock tonight.
Coming up on News 2 at 6. We're still tracking hot weather across the area. And how about your fishing forecast on your Friday? Let's take a look as we look at the tides. We've got a high tide about 11 a.m., low again around 5 o'clock in the afternoon with a waxing crescent moon. Water temperature toasty 87. You can always get the Storm Team 2 forecast on Nash FM 96.9. You're watching News 2 at 6. Looking live at Folly Beach from the Tides Hotel, as you see a lot of folks still enjoying the beautiful day at the beach. It's another hot day inland, as you well know. And as you make some outdoor plans on your Thursday evening, still some sunshine and 90, but feeling more like 100 by 8 o'clock, 87 by 10 o'clock, low 80. Same for 11 o'clock as we continue to see very warm and muggy conditions at night. We've already got another heat advisory in effect for tomorrow. If you're working outside or even just playing outside, be careful. Listen to your body. Record high is 100 going back to 2011. No relief in sight. This heat wave is going to continue as we head through the rest of the weekend and next week. 98 tomorrow, 97 on Saturday and Sunday, upper 90s close to 100 as we head back to work next week. And of course, we always point out at this number as well, this is the heat index, the combination of the humidity and the air temperatures. Your body has to work just a little bit harder when the numbers get this high to cool down. 106 on Friday, feeling like 103 on Saturday. Rain chances somewhat elevated compared to the last few days. Scattered showers and thunderstorms. I think more of us will see those hit and miss. Hopefully we have a few hits just to kind of cool us down just a little bit. But the recipe for the heat wave with high pressure extending from the Atlantic Ocean back across the Gulf of Mexico. Remember, the air flows clockwise in the northern hemisphere around that high. So now we're getting that warm or even hot and humid air rotating around it. And this pattern is going to hang tough as we head into next week as well. So yes, it's going to be still hot on Saturday after getting into the upper 90s tomorrow. Heat surges again on Sunday, and next week we could even see some triple digits. As we mentioned, it's been 4 years since we've seen 100 or greater. We may get to the low 100s next week. As far as storms, we do have some that continue to wrap around into Georgetown County and Horry County. We talked about this last hour. So especially central and upper Georgetown County up towards Pawleys Island, Murrells Inlet, even across the border to Surfside Beach, we're getting some storms. These are light showers that are going to be moving right across the northern portions of Berkeley County, but they have been fading away. So we've lost a lot of those lightning strikes that were predominant earlier, but now not too much going on in terms of lightning. So that's good news. Hey, let's check out the 7-day forecast. 76 tonight, 98 tomorrow. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, just a little bit higher chance as we get into the weekend. Of course, Sunday is Father's Day, also the beginning of summer. Here's your beach 7-day forecast. A toasty day at the beach for tomorrow, 89. We'll see temperatures in the low 90s as well, all the way to the coast. And beginning of summer is going to be very summer-like at the beach. Here's our pollen count on a scale of 1 to 12. It's at a 2, so watch out for that grass pollen. And finally, how about the 3-degree guarantee? We forecast 99. Carolyn got up to 96. We needed all 3 degrees today for Camp Rise Above, but we did it. That means another $100 going to the folks there from Glass Pro, $1,100, and that is money in the bank. And I don't know what you can say, but I think back in 2007 when we had the Charleston 9 tragedy, we said it could never get worse, and it's equally worse or worse than what we had back then. So 2 anniversaries, amazing.
Yeah, we heard Police Chief Greg Mullen came out and his first words out of his mouth last night, the worst day in his career.
Yeah, and I think we're all trying, us in the news media who live here and have lived here for a long time, still trying to wrap our arms around this whole thing too.
Our community has come together before and will continue to do the same. Rob, we appreciate it. All right, we of course want you to stay right here with us. Our coverage continues right after this break. A tragic day in the Holy City. 9 people killed in historic Emanuel AME Church. The man police say is responsible, Dylan Ralph, arrested this afternoon, and you just saw him board a plane being brought back to Charleston. We're going to go back to News 2's Brendan Clark, who is in downtown Charleston, very near the scene of that shooting. Brendan.
Yeah, Carolyn, as we heard out, Rolf might be back as early as within the hour here on that plane trip back, so we'll certainly keep you updated on that. But here I am at the corner of Calhoun and King. Behind me, Emanuel AME Church, where that horrific crime, 9 people gunned down in a Bible study yesterday at 9 o'clock. And as we now have learned that Rolf was possibly in that Bible study for an hour conversating with those people before casually pulling a gun and gunning them down allegedly. So behind me, there's a shrine that has started in front of that church. The road now is open, Calhoun. It was closed for most of the morning into the afternoon, but when they opened it up, people came down, started putting flowers and everything. People are now, onlookers are now looking as they drive by. Certainly a horrific crime that happened, and we're on top of it, Carolyn, down here. We'll have much more coming up tonight on News 2 at 11. Back to you.
All right, Brendan Clark in downtown Charleston right now. And of course, we remind you that the news does continue online at counton2.com. And of course, we will break in with any new news developments. Again, we will see you tonight for News 2 at 11.